Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project, Magnetic Reversal News, and Shinrin Yoku, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Thursday, August 26th, 10:30 p.m. Mountain Time 2021. Antarctic ice extent, second highest in recorded history. But the big story, Tropical Storm Ida, strongest storm of the season, could rapidly strengthen into a major hurricane. As predicted, keep calm. It's spaghetti model time. And Tropical Storm Ida is certainly predicted in 99% of the models to become a major hurricane as it moves towards New Orleans, where 90% of the models are showing it to become within striking distance of that city. But there are two storms we're talking about, one on the West Coast called Nora. Last night we called it Enrique because it was showing up as an E on my data set. And when we looked into it this morning, it's actually Tropical Storm Nora that has formed south of the Baja Peninsula and just off of Mexico. Yes, the west coast of Mexico. Now, Tropical Storm Nora in the models is getting ever more stronger. As it approaches Baja, it is going to be a Cat 2, Cat 3 hurricane. It's going to be a major event for Baja. So buckle up, Baja. It's coming Sunday and Monday, and you'll be bumming. And we do have some of the warnings, I think, for Nora. The key messages for Nora here. And let's skip over the... Nora's forecast is strengthening to a hurricane on Saturday while it is near the coast of southwestern Mexico. And a hurricane watch and tropical storm warnings are in effect for portions of that area. Interests along the southwestern coast of Mexico should closely monitor the progress of this system and updates to the forecast as they are ever increasing with each run. Heavy rain associated with Tropical Storm Nora is expected across coastal sections of the Mexican states of Oaxaca, Guerrero, Michoacan, Colima, and Jalisco. Life-threatening flash flooding and mudslides may occur. Now, as Nora strengthens, it is forecast to be near or over the southern portion of Baja California Sur as a hurricane early next week, bringing a risk of wind and rain impacts to that area. Given the above average uncertainty in the forecast, it's still too soon to determine the magnitude of the storm, but heed my warning. Now let's talk about Tropical Storm Ida. A hurricane watch has been issued from Cameroon, Louisiana, eastward to the Mississippi-Alabama border, including Lake Pontchartrain, Lake Maurepas, and metropolitan New Orleans. So big heads up there. Here is the current track, best estimated, and it's just going to be just west of New Orleans, maybe 100 miles. Obviously, the further the better, but not necessarily as far as levees failing and flooding. This could be the worst setup possible. Now, let's take a look at the windy model, and we'll bring it back to the current time now, and we can see Nora and Ida moving and, gaining strength. Now, you're going to notice Nora here is going to gain strength much quicker than Ida. And here we are, late day, Friday, tomorrow, where Tropical Storm Ida will have passed over Havana, Cuba, and done the most damage at this point, and will start to organize, while Nora is over open water and organizing the whole time. Here we are Saturday morning. You can see Hurricane Nora is coming into full effect here, as Hurricane Ida is doing the same. Now, the rapid increase from Hurricane Cat 1 to Cat 2 happens during Saturday afternoon for Nora, may get to Cat 3 before it makes landfall. Whereas the new models are showing Ida is going to be quite tame as it moves through the Gulf, which is quite unexpected because the Gulf waters late in August are the hottest they could possibly be. Once it gets over the middle of the Gulf is when Ida will gain extreme strength, like previous storms in years past that were extremely impactful, like Rita, my mother's name. Remember that storm? Now, let's take a close look at some of the wind speeds in Nora as it approaches Sunday afternoon here. 110, 121. Whew, those are gusts. But over here at Ida, we're only seeing gusts at 80 plus. So that's good news for the Gulf Coast. The models are showing a lesser effect. But what the new models are showing, let's move this through late day Sunday. Nora is going to make landfall sometime Sunday night with winds gusting over 120, according to the models. And this baby is going to be organizing into a pretty strong Cat 1 at the same time, just offshore New Orleans, Sunday, late Sunday evening, and also making landfall. Now look at how the models are lining up. Both of these storms' eyes are going to make landfall Sunday night on the new models. Boom, boom, boom. And we'll just move it through. There it is. So the eyes in the new model here, Nora is just going to scrape the western tip of Baja as Ida makes landfall just west of New Orleans with gusts of up to 110 miles per hour. Cat 1, Cat 2. So those are the current models, and we want to bring you up to speed before anyone else does. Now, the precipitation models are showing some unfortunate things, a 1-2 punch. As Ida moves up, a second tropical storm is going to move into the picture here to either hit Cuba or continue to move up and hit Texas, or maybe even New Orleans again. So a second tropical system is going to be moving up into the region the second week of September. Like I said, it's September to remember. Holy macaroni. Moving on. Now, is Mount Shasta really devoid of snow for the first time ever? I'm sure you've seen these headlines over the last 24 hours, and it's all burning up. Well, no, it's a lie. In fact, Mount Shasta is not without snow for the first time in history. It happens all the time in summer when the snow melts. And here's the bummer. Every time the mainstream media uses fear-mongering to scare all of you into its climate alarmism mode, well, they get thrown for a loop. And this will be no different. Mount Shasta will receive record snows this winter, making them all look like idiots. And in fact, a meteorologist pointed out the fact that there have been periods where Shasta had little or no snow, including 2014 at the height of California's drought. And a meteorologist, Sandler, also said he saw a photo with no snow in October of 1992, which was just at the beginning of the global warming scare. But we're in a drought year, a mega drought, of course, with less snow and more heat and no rain. It's insane. No cloud cover. It's going to melt off early. And it will be coming back, well, in meters this winter. National Weather Service, widespread heat, severe storm, and heavy rains. The only problem is there's no heat warnings across the U.S., so the widespread heat is less widespread than the title suggests. Now, heat persists as excessive heat warnings and heat advisories extend from portions of the west into the northeast. Multiple rounds of severe storms and organized heavy rain are likely across the northern plains into the upper Midwest. Flooding is possible in the mid-Atlantic. Tropical storm Ida is forecast to approach the northern Gulf Coast at or near major hurricane intensity on Sunday, and we're going to estimate it will make landfall at Cat 1. Nora will make landfall at Cat 2 at Baja and just scrape the western edge, or be just offshore, pummeling Baja as Cat 2. Who knew? You do now. Worldwide volcano news update. Mauna Loa and, well, the seismic swarm has weakened, but lasted for a large period of time, almost 48 hours of magma emplacement at a shallow depth, yes, on the western edge of the Mauna Loa crater. This lava has got to come up. Now, that this may be the first emplacement event over a multiplicity of events. There could be multiple events before the eruption, but this lava is now sitting shallow, right below the surface, and could cause phreatomagmatic explosions in any time in the future. And phreatomagmatic means the groundwater is going to rush in to the edges here where the magma has moved in, start to boil, build up pressure until it reaches a critical point and goes boom, like here on the right. So we're waiting for the boom at Kilauea as the seismic swarm, well, goes quiet for the last about 30 hours. So we're keeping a close eye on that. Now, worldwide volcano news update. We've got Fuego, Swanosima, Kirimski, Ibu Dukono, Reventador, and Semi-Supoichnoi. Now, Semi-Supoichnoi volcano eruptive activity continues on the North Crater at Mount Cerberus to 10,000 feet. Ibu is puffing and passing to 6,000. Sabancaya went to 26 today, and Karinsky at 12,000 feet. So we have a normal activity pattern on volcanoes worldwide. Nothing spectacular. But in Australia, it's cold enough to freeze the clackers off the alpacas. Elevated areas of central New South Wales have woken to a blanket of thick snow in the morning as residents along with the state's southern coastline recover from a night of cyclonic winds as the wallabies, well, they wallow in the snow. Two contrasting air masses clashed over New South Wales during the last 48 hours. One was a surge of cold air from the south, the other a much warmer, moisture-laden air from the north. And, well, the alpacas freeze the clackers off. Ancient DNA from a teen girl reveals previously unknown group of humans. And we're not talking Denisovians or Neanderthals, a completely unknown group of humans. Yes, that branched off 37,000 years ago, and the genome of a Middle Holocene hunter-gatherer from Wallacea has been studied, and it's pretty fantastic information here. A completely unknown group of hominids around the time of the extinction of the Neanderthals were also walking Earth. Now, 10 years of the European Union's failed biofuels policy has wiped out forests the size of the Netherlands, says the study. Not only that, that's just the European Union's biofuels policy. We've got biofuels in the US, biofuels in Canada, and all over the world. Now, here is the brass tacks, and I tried to shove it down everyone's neck last year at the Crestone Energy Fair, that the green energy policy has nothing to do with solving the planet's dire problems of pollution and over-harvesting and just raping the earth of rare earth elements, superficial mining, and other things. But this whole green movement is 3 to 4 times worse than the original oil and gas industry. And it's proven in this study. And in fact, Europe has burned 39 million tons of palm and soy biodiesel alone in its cars and trucks since 2010, emitting up to 3 times more CO2 emissions than the fossil fuel diesel it replaced. And that is the problem with the green agenda. It has nothing to do with you, CO2, or saving the earth. It has to do with a policy shift that makes other elites billionaires, period. They don't care about you. They don't care about CO2. They care about greenbacks. Same thing here. Can artificially altered clouds save the Great Barrier Reef? Well, the Great Barrier Reef doesn't need saving. About a month ago, a paper came out showing that the Great Barrier Reef last year has rebounded 30 to 40% in some regions in just 1 year. The coral bleaching event had nothing to do with humans, CO2, or climate change. It has everything to do with the moon's 18-plus year lunar cycle, the lunar standstill, that the ancients knew about. Ancient cultures would have known that climate change is a fraud. And that's just how blinded and brainwashed we are today. Now, an open letter to the Prime Minister of New Zealand by Peter J. Morgan. It is no longer possible for any credible argument to be made that the science is settled. Now, Cap Allen put together a beautiful piece yesterday, and we're just going to go over really quick. The open letter was written by Peter J. Morgan, and he sent it out all over Australia. And it has to do with the work of Dr. Patrick Frank, a vastly experienced physical methods experimental chemist at SLAC. Now, SLAC is the Stanford Linear Accelerator Center, and Dr. Patrick, well, is no slouch, or slack in this case. And for the last 30 years, like myself, Dr. Frank, in his spare time, has pursued an interest in the theory of anthropogenic global warming, especially since it morphed into the meaningless euphemism climate change. Now, just to make it clear, the climate, like the weather, well, that changes continually. There is no such thing as a linear trend. And after Dr. Frank goes on and on espousing all of the scientific particulars about why the science of climate change and anthropogenic global warming and human-induced climate change is nonsense. He then goes on to reiterate it once again. And we're going to share that reiteration with you now verbatim because it is gold, literally. Now, I'm reiterating this now verbatim to practice for my talk this weekend at the Crestone Energy Fair because I want to be prepared. Now, we all know that proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. So let us discuss the reiteration from Dr. Frank. And I quote, "None of the published air temperature projections, neither in the primary peer-reviewed literature nor in any of the IPCC assessment reports, has any scientific meaning or predictive value whatsoever." And this is the opening sentence for the reiteration. And let me repeat it again before we go forward. None of the published air temperature projections, neither in the primary peer-reviewed literature nor in any of the IPCC assessment reports, has any scientific meaning or predictive value whatsoever. No rational policy decisions may be taken on the basis of these projections. Now, this is all of them since the beginning of the IPCC. And this is because they use general circulation models. Are you following us? Are you picking it up? We just put it down. All general circulation models, whatever other uses they may have, are entirely unsuitable for making projections of anthropogenic global warming, period. They cannot tell us anything at all about how atmospheric temperatures may evolve in the future, nor explain temperature excursions of the past. Basically, they're useless. Now, these general circulation models in themselves cannot detect, cannot attribute, and cannot project the impact of CO2 emissions on global mean surface temperatures, neither in the present nor into the 21st century or ever. The uncertainty propagated through simulation-type steps generates altogether too large an uncertainty envelope for the reliable projection of future warming on any timescale. The models cannot say anything about atmospheric temperature either. Now, globally, warming projections of climate models then are formally demonstrated to be no better than guesswork. These projections, which provide the entire case for concern about our influence on the climate, are, to put it bluntly, utterly unreliable. They can't provide any reliable information on whether the climate will warm or cool. And for that purpose, you might as well as consult an oracle at Delphi, as any or all of the general circulation climate models, well, are the same thing. It's like pulling a card from a tarot deck. You want to know the facts? Well, the facts are in. Antarctic sea ice has rebounded. Scientists are quiet. A couple years ago, many mainstream media outlets declared that sea ice at the South Pole was melting at an astonishing rate. But this year, no one is reporting on the fact that Antarctic ice extent is the second highest in recorded history, as of this week. And the ice area also the second highest in recorded history ever since records began being kept. Antarctica is covered in ice. And the Arctic ice extent, nothing about the Arctic melting this year. Didn't you notice that? That's because the Arctic ice extent, as we predicted 4 years ago, would continue to increase for the rest of our lives, as it's done here this year. In fact, it is the highest ice extent this week in the last 11 years. And the area as well. Holy macaroni. These 142-year-old seeds sprouted after spending more than a century underground. Are you intrigued? I am. Now, one of the oldest agricultural studies ever conceived is still ongoing on planet Earth. And seeds buried back in the 1800s are still being unearthed today at American universities. Mind-blowing. And guess what? Some of the seeds sprouted. These resilient plants are part of a centuries-long experiment at Michigan State University. Under the cover of darkness, a team of scientists set out into a cold Michigan night in April, armed with flashlights and a map from 1879. It marked the secret location of an unlikely treasure. Bottles of seeds from 2 centuries past, buried underground and patiently waiting for their turn to come to life. Now, all of these mystic items are part of an ongoing biology experiment at Michigan State University called the Beal Seed Experiment, which seeks to find out how long seeds can remain viable in the soil. And this recent successful germination of 13 seeds shows that the answer is at least 142 years. Named for the botanist William James Beal, who started the experiment, the project has become an ongoing and living legacy of university botanists. And it's fascinating. To learn more, click on the link below about the study. If you want to grow better, live longer, and get better results, it's all about the bean, soil booster, restoring vitality to earth. It's not a compost. It's beyond that. Just like here at the Three Canyons Permaculture Farm, we're not organic. We're beyond organic. We don't use organic chemicals. We don't use organic pesticides. We don't use anything. We use nature to solve all the problems. The same thing Beam does. By inoculating the soil with all the mycorrhiza and bacteria you need to be successful. How do I know? Well, the inventors of Beam have been running an experiment. This is the 10-day hemp seed experiment. Same hemp seeds planted on the same day 10 days ago. No beam on top, pre-inoculated beam on the bottom. That's a beam boom. And that's all you need to know. 100% increase in growth in 10 days. Buy the beam. Links will be below. Crestone Energy Fair is coming up soon. This weekend, in fact. Wow. 48 hours. And it begins. I'll be speaking on Sunday from 3:30 to 5 at the regenerative stage, which will be live streamed at Crestone Energy Fair YouTube. It's a free event where you're going to see the most important people involved in the most important types of building techniques and regenerative agriculture, building, and energy on the planet. The longest running energy fair on Earth. The 32nd annual Crestone Energy Fair this weekend. 19,850. Camino de Oro. That's the road with the gold, man. Where are you going to be? Now, one of our friends out in the San Luis Valley has made so much goat milk that they need to expand. And if you're looking for raw goat milk and want to share that goat milk, check out ShangriLaColorado.com. You can also pick your stove, wood and gas heating stoves. But the good stuff is at the Raw Goat Milk Farm, run by Heather. I really hope that's her name. And these are just awesome people using permaculture principles to create some of the most delicious goat milk on the planet. And you could buy a share, just $32 a month, get you 4 half gallons, one a week in Crestone. So if you're local to the area and you can make it to Crestone, or you're from Crestone, get involved in the milk shares. They need you. They also have, well, guardian dogs that they breed. Very important to raising goats or sheep in our region because of mountain lions and other threats like coyotes. So check out Shangri-La, Colorado.com. Do it for the channel. Tell them Diamond sent you. Now, the Crestone Energy Fair has a YouTube channel where they will be live streaming Saturday and Sunday, which will be the fun day because we'll be there. So check out Crestone Energy Fair on YouTube. Subscribe. Watch the live stream if you can't make it. Also, if you have a couple bucks, please donate to the fair. I'll give you links to the GoFundMe. It is critically important that we have the money we need to grow this fair. This event is one of the most important proving grounds for regenerative societies that we need to prosper in the future. Systems are about to shut down. And at the Crestone Energy Fair, we learned how community builds resilience through alternative thinking, regenerative agriculture, well, and brainstorming, which we'll be doing this weekend. So join us. Make a donation if you can. Now, before we leave, I want to leave you links to this paper, which I can't mention because we will be demonetized. But in a private study, we haven't found one person using that has been sick. That's a boom. To knowledge, proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. In the dystopian world you live in, where we have to make up and mumble to get the information out, you should be very worried. Learn how to wild harvest. Learn how to wildcraft. Buy books. Be prepared. Long-term food storage. Knowledge. Community. This is the future. Crestone is the place. And that is a boom. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. Share this with like-minded people. And we'll see you this weekend in Shangri-La, Colorado.com. By the beam.